Hey everybody, this is Ashley Bryant coming to you from Worth It Every Time, and the message for today is you are what you eat. And it sounds kind of weird when it comes to mental health, but you got to think about it, right? So, like physically, when we eat, let's say we eat like fast food or something like that, and then we feel kind of slow and groggy, and we have to take a nap because we just don't feel as great. Whereas if you see someone who eats like healthy, they eat smaller portions, fruits, vegetables, and all their superfoods with the antioxidants and all that stuff, they're always on it. When they get done eating, they are, energetic, full of life, or whatever the case is. And I feel the same way about the things that we hear. It's like when you go to like a church service, and it doesn't have to be a church service, but, a good conversation, or you go and you hear like an inspirational speaker, and then you hear people coming back and they'll say, I'm so full, yet they didn't eat anything. So I thought about that, and it's like, we digest the words that people say to us, and the things that we hear and things that we see, we digest them. And the things that we digest consistently can have an impact on our mental health. And I don't think a lot of us really think about that too much. But I did, based on, our current climate, where we are now as a society, and then just in general with myself, and starting to really think about the things that I'm thinking about and why I'm thinking about those things as it relates to what I expose myself to. And so before we go ahead and get started with all of that stuff, I always have my Bible verses that go along with the content that we're exploring. And the first one is Galatians chapter 5, verses 7 through 9. And it says, "You were running the race so well. Who has held you back from following the truth? It certainly isn't God, for He is the one who called you to freedom. This false teaching is like a little yeast that spreads throughout the whole batch of dough." So with that, I thought about the things that we watch, that we expose ourselves to, and how watching certain things, or even watching other people on social media, can kind of spread within us and can affect our heart and the person that we are, and can change our whole attitude and mindset, so that we end up kind of shackling ourselves down to untruths, and starting to live our lives according to those untruths. And I'll get more into what that kind of looks like later. But then the other verse that I have was Proverbs 4:23, which says to guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. And again, where our hearts go, our minds go, and whatnot. So if we fill ourselves with a bunch of anger and distrust and bitterness, then our heart becomes that way, our speech becomes that way, the way we interact with other people becomes that way, and then we're known as the angry, bitter, person who is constantly angry, and then people don't want to be around us. And so, like I was saying earlier, feeding ourselves is not only physical, it's a mental deal. And we have to think about the things that we are exposing ourselves to. No, I'm not saying for you to quit watching the TV shows that you currently watch, and to only, read inspirational text and things of that nature. But I am saying probably limit it some, or maybe, change it up a bit. So, if you're the person who like watches the news constantly, and you hear the numbers of the COVID-19 virus are doubling and tripling this day, and then this country is going to war with this country, and this person was found dead, is nothing but negative energy feeding your soul day in and day out, to the point where now you become anxious and depressed, and scared to go outside because you don't know who you're going to interact with, when and why, and what's going to happen. You start to think negatively about other people. So instead of wanting to reach out a hand to be a blessing to and help someone else, you're more fearful about what might come out of that situation, and how it's going to affect you. And shutting that off for just a little while, and taking a break from the news, or from like reality TV shows. And I know we all love and hip hop and the Basketball Wives, and I don't really know those shows too much. But it almost seems as though in none of those shows, none of them can ever sit down and have a conversation at a restaurant without someone becoming upset and throwing a drink on someone. I don't think I've ever seen an episode where that hasn't happened. And that becomes normal that becomes normalized. We become desensitized to being able to just get angry and just react instead of being able to think about what's causing us to be angry and respond in a productive way that allows us to communicate how we're feeling assertively and to get a reaction that we need instead of trying to bully it out of somebody with anger, which is basically what we're being taught in those type of shows if we're constantly exposing ourselves to that type of stuff. And so again, switching it up, maybe watch something else. Maybe watch a romantic comedy, stand-up comedy, or something of that nature. Maybe read a book, or even just take a walk and get out of the house, enjoy some fresh air, some sunlight on your skin, and just look at nature, go skating. Just go do anything to mix it up, to not allow yourself to be excessively bombarded with negative energy and negative messages, because at the end of the day, the more you pour that into yourself, the more it becomes a part of who you are, and then you start to reflect those negative images that you're constantly exposing yourself to. So, this has been a shorter video than normal, but I think the message is still pretty powerful. With that being that we really, again, guard our hearts by being mindful of the things that we are exposing our eyes and ears to, and even if it's gossip from your friends and things like that. I think it's super important that we take inventory of, again, what we are exposing ourselves to and how that can affect the person that we are striving to become and who we are going to be tomorrow. So until next time, please like this video, share, subscribe, leave a comment below. Tell me what are some things that you're exposing yourselves to and how you plan on changing that to better yourself and be a better version of you tomorrow. Other than that, love all.